thing that people tend to assume that you have to finish a to-do list every day. No, you don't. Hi. So I'm going to do my first Notion video. I'm excited to be sharing with you what's working for me in Notion. I started using Notion when I had an injury to my hand and I had to switch to digital planning, but I couldn't use cute iPad digital planning because then there's just using the iPad pencil, and it was kind of the same situation. So I'm glad to have switched to an entirely separate digital system, and it's actually done extremely well for the way that my brain works and my ADD. And also, if you are into the law of attraction like I am and you like all of those related things in human design, I'm a manifesting generator, which kind of works very well in line with my ADD. So I'm going to show with you a section of my Notion and how it works for me using just the things that make my brain tick. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an intro. First, I wanted to show you beforehand, I'm showing Notion in light mode just because I think it's a little easier for the video. But if you are like me and you prefer dark mode, here's how you find dark mode in Notion, because it is actually kind of difficult to find. So if you go on the left-hand side, you click Settings and Members, open that up, and then click My Notification and Settings up here. Here you have light mode, dark mode, or you can also do use system settings. So if you have a computer that changes depending on time of day, Notion will react in the same way. So for the sake of the video, I'm doing it in light mode, but I actually prefer my Notion in dark mode. So I wanted to share that. On the side here, I have some things that I'm working on. I've also worked with a few different templates that I've seen on YouTube. Twirling Pages template, Notion template by Mixbecca. This is mine, again, but better, what I'm working from here and everything that I've made through that. And soon I'll be doing a video on this section, the manifestation planner, that is a physical planner that I've created that I'm now making a digital version for. So I'm hoping to share that with you soon. Okay. Before we get into my section, we're going to be going over brainwave, what I call it, which is how I work as someone with ADD and manifesting generator, and how I chase my happy and still be extremely productive. I'm going to first do a little bit of a tangent on being ADD and to-do lists and toxic productivity and just constantly thinking that you have to finish a to-do list. This setup is created with not finishing a to-do list in mind, and instead a brain dump system that keeps every possible to-do that I could be doing and encourages me to interact between all the different areas of my life and make progress, not perfection. So I think that there's this thing that people tend to assume that you have to finish a to-do list every day. No, you don't. And ever since I switched to the system where I stopped having the expectation that I was, one, going to finish my to-do list, do it perfectly all the time, do all these habit trackers and be this perfect person all the time. Instead, I started focusing on just making progress every day. And that has completely made things a lot easier for me. And I've set up my Notion in a way that I'm able to make progress in different areas of my life and also alter how I plan depending on what I need emotionally. Because not every days are great. It's like that song, Bad Bitches Have Bad Days Too. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to show you that. So now let's go into my Notion. Let me zoom my screen back down. Okay. All right, so I have my Notion set up very particularly depending on different buckets of my life. I'm not going to go too much into all of the sections. We're mainly going to be focusing on the productivity part, which is the brainwave. But I will give you just a brief overview of my dashboard. My theme for the year, which I said in my last video, is again, but better. So I really like all the things in my life. I feel very grateful for that. So I'm just trying to do everything again this year, but to a new level, to more, just more of what I want, but everything again. So I have that theme at the top here. I have all of these set up kind of like buckets or islands, like in Inside Out. These are just the different islands of my life. So I have manifestations, my brainwave. So here's kind of manifestations is kind of my playground. By the way, these graphics this one I created and this one is mine. Everything else here is just from Pinterest or other templates and things like that. I am not giving a template free version of what I'm sharing with today because I personally think it's a little weird to give away things that have graphics that are not actually yours. I feel like that's kind of odd that has continued to be common, but I know that, whatever, that's a whole other different tangent. Me and like image rights is just a conversation in my head. So this is the only thing that I own. And that's why I'm not providing a free template with any of this information, because these graphics are not mine to give. I'm just giving you this for demonstration purposes, and you can create your own. When I do my manifestation planner and share that later, I will be sharing a template that has royalty-free images that I've vetted myself. So we will do that later. So I'm an author, so I have a lot of sections for being an author and time tracking. If you want a video on how I'm time tracking and doing sprints and everything like that, I have that in my author page that I can show towards the end. Grimoire, so just writing different things related to crystals and spells and things like that I'm wanting to keep track of. My blog, Things with Marketing, and now Things with YouTube. For work, I call it the agency because I work in an agency/tech company. Things related to money, working out, relaxing, my journal. My journal is the page that I use the most other than Brainwave. And then I just have some cutesy sections here, but they're not actually, I rarely look at them. So let's get into Brainwave. How does Brainwave work for me? So again, with the focus on being flexible and making sure that I'm working with what is unique about my brain and going in between different sections and not telling myself to stop. Fully believe in working with what your brain needs. So I tend to have a lot of ideas at once and can get very overwhelmed when I'm looking at them all the time. So a lot of these functions are set up so that I can ignore a section if I need to, or highlight a section if I need to. So first at the top, I usually just have reminders here. So update the wallpaper in the bathroom and the bedroom. That's one of the goals I have for this week. Be at peace. I've kept that there for a while because I'm just working on being a little bit more calm. I just put here the start of the week, but often I kind of forget and it stays the same week forever, though today is January 31st, so it is the week of the 30th. Book club reading. I never remember what I'm supposed to read in my book club. I'm in a witch book club and a self-help book club, so that's what we're currently working on now. I have here just a little reminder, use what works, sweetie, let the rest go, because I don't like being pressured into doing things. Everything based on this is me trying to remove the pressure to make it easier for me to succeed. And then I just have different pages that I often reference or current projects. I just keep at the top there. So down here, so that's like the first section. This is the least used section. It's kind of just for reminders and links. It's just a mini dashboard, and I just really like that cat. But down here is probably my most used section. So we'll call this section 2. And then here is section 3 for week planning, where I can move things depending on what I'm doing for that week. And then last section is just where I write down dates that I need to remember. I pretty much only write down dates here. I don't write meetings or anything like that, because then there would be so many that you can't see anything. So it's just dates where I need to be somewhere or I need to interact with somebody. So let's go back to section 2. So again, everything is set up for my ease. So here we have a linked section. The red highlight around it means that it is linked and synced. So in my journal every day, I have a standard template for journal pages. I have what I call here an inbox linked on every journal page. So as I'm journaling in the morning, if I remember something that I need to do, I write it in my journal and it shows up here. If I'm like, writing in my bed and I remember, oh, I need to take out the trash, and I write that in my journal, it'll sync up here. And then when I get to my to-do list for the day, I'll be like, oh yeah, I need to take out the trash. Let me pick that up, put it into Tuesday, because today is Tuesday, and then I'll have sorted what was in my inbox. So then I'll just usually add another plus to-do list so that I can do it later, or when I'm done writing the to-do, I'll just add a blank line so then I know if I need to move this down, a to-do spot is always available. So I have here different categories of things that I need to do. life, and I have them closed with toggles with usually affirmations or things that I remember. So life, I'm a goddess. If I undo that, I just have things that I need to do depending for life reasons. Usually I'll have 2 sections open at once. So I often have my author section open because that's kind of my main focus most of the time. And then usually life or house because I'm working on some house remodeling stuff. So if I'm overwhelmed and I'm like, today I'm not doing anything for the house, I close that and I don't have to look at it. And that just makes me happy. So focusing on, that's just how my brain functions. I usually focus on, I need to do something for work right now. I need to do something for my life right now. I need to do something for this. And I usually work by categories. Sometimes I'm like, I can't handle it. I can't. So that when that happens, I move down here and I focus on adding just 3 to 5 things. Again, I don't really ever plan to do all 3 to 5 things there. And then if I don't do it, I move it to another day or I ghost it. Let me tell you about my ghosting process. So this take out the trash, I don't need to take out the trash. My husband takes out the trash. So if I don't need this, or if it's been here for too long, I did this actually yesterday. There was something that I had on my week view that for 4 weeks I said I was going to do, and I didn't do it. So that made me decide it's not actually that important, or it's not timely. I don't really need to think about it right now. I can think about it another time. So I was like, clearly this isn't actually a priority for me. And I'm starting to feel more triggered looking at it because I'm seeing something that I haven't done for several weeks. And it actually doesn't really have a deadline. And I don't really need to do it. And it's no longer making me happy. So I just say, I'm ghosting it. And I carry it over to a sync section that is my archive for the month. So I just moved that over to the January archive. This archive also syncs over here under master archive, and I only sync 1 section at a time. So since today's the 31st, tomorrow is going to be February. So I would add this underneath, and then I would move January, hang on, down there. And then now February is synced in my master archive, and down here I have February. So I also have in these particular project sections, I also have a link to that master archive. So then when I finish something in a project, I drag it to the archive and it shows up over here. How do you make an archive? Let me show you. So first, let's just make a random toggle. So what I did here is / toggle, click here, blah, blah. Remember now. Okay. You're actually copy link to block. So I copied the link to the block. You saw that? Now I'm doing Command V to link, paste, and sync. So now this has the red highlight on it. So see if I open this, adding something else, it adds it to here. So that's how you do a synced block. And that synced block will always talk to each other no matter all the places you sync it. So right now I have delete and unsync copies, delete. Let me delete this. Delete. So now I have this archive synced in like 12 different spots and it's always talking to each other. The reason that I like to archive my to-dos is because it feels really good to look at it and be like, boom, look at all of the things that I did in January. Look at all that. And see, anything that didn't have a checkbox are things that I ghosted. So all of that here, and this is just partial for January because I had a different system for January that in the beginning, the first week that wasn't working for me, and I swapped back to this one. So I started this one, tried instead a database that synced to a whole bunch of lists, and the database was stressing me out. So I went back to just random to-do lists. So that's not even all of January. But being able to see everything you accomplished is a great dopamine hit. It's just like, look, I can accomplish things. I can do good things. So again, setting myself up for success. Sometimes when I'm like, I'm not productive, I can look at this and see, oh yeah, look at all those things that I did. So yes, now what else do I need to tell you? So I have everything set up here to be able to go into the archive. So sometimes there are things that are repeated from here to here. I try in general not to repeat too much. So if there's something that I need to do here, like resend packages, I know that I am sending packages to Sydney on Thursday. So I can move that into Thursday. And then either way, when I move it into the archive, it's still going to show up as me doing it, and I don't have a duplicate, but sometimes duplicates do end up coming in here because I'll forget that I wrote something up here and I had it closed because I was overwhelmed about something. And then focusing just on a few things at a day, you can forget something, but I don't care if there's something repeated. I just hope that I don't do it too often. But anyway, so that is my second section that I use probably the second most often, because when I look at things here, I'm looking in section 1 at everything at a huge, big overarching level. When I'm anxious, I can't do that, which today I'm feeling actually a little bit anxious. So I know today I'm not going to be focusing on an overarching level. I'm going to be focusing on just today. And then when I focus on just today, I do this. But again, this not as often. I'll occasionally write things down here, but mostly I like to look at things in a big picture. So then this last section, again, is just writing down dates. I almost never use that unless I need to schedule something, like I need to schedule a nail appointment. So I need to know what is going on at what time. And it's just a pretty picture that makes me feel vibey. So the last thing that I make sure to highlight in all of these sections for my ADD brain and manifesting generator brain, where I just need to be able to do what I need to do, is obviously making it pretty, but also having reminders about who the I am. So my brain knows what it's doing. I am not wrong for my brain being this way. I am fantastic and do things that give me the most value. The more fun I have, the more money flows to me. I am so grateful that I get to do these things. Focusing on gratitude is extremely important. So when I'm working in my journal, I focus a lot on gratitude. I focus a lot on the things that I want and aligning who I am to the identity that I want to, that I am in progress of being, and who I actually am right now. And just sometimes not all the evidence is available yet, but I know this is me. This is who I am. I'm just waiting for the evidence to catch up. And I'm basing these lists up here on the person that I am aligned to be and am currently. And everything else just kind of flows together. So I always try to keep positivity and affirmations, because affirmations are my jam. Hang on, let me plug myself for a minute. If you don't know me, you could call me an affirmation queen. Here's my book, Repeat After Me, How to Change Your Life in 1,111 Affirmations or Less. Call it my zebra book. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. And it has over 1,111 affirmations and tips on how to use affirmations. So you'll see in all of my Notion tours and my next planner tour on the Manifestation Planner that I believe these things. If you talk to yourself well, a lot changes. Okay, so that is my Notion tour of my brainwave, where I put together sections for my best success and what works for my brain. And I allow myself to look at the big picture when I can and when I want to, which is most of the time. And then I allow myself to focus on a day level when everything else becomes a little bit too loud. And again, my focus is not to complete every to-do list every day. It's instead just to make sure I'm making progress every day. And as you can tell by my December, let's see how big December's archive was. Pretty good. And then January, well, this year, focusing on what makes me unique doesn't make me less productive. If you asked anyone in my life, is Rebecca a productive person? They would say she's the most productive person that you know. So I follow my happy. And also, if you think about it in cases of there's things sometimes that we have to do that nobody's happy about. If you're a fan of if you are not a stranger to procrastination, the thing that needs to get done will get done when it needs to happen. And sometimes that's the day before, and I'm no longer shaming myself for finishing something the day before, because as long as it gets done, it doesn't matter. And because I've let go of the shame, I'm no longer upset at myself when I do things in a heightened state the day before, because I know that the thing that I needed to do got done, and that's all that mattered. So that is my brainwave. Welcome to my Notion planner in my Again But Better dashboard. And I will show you more sections of my dashboard in an upcoming video. Let me briefly show you my author one, because I do have time tracking in there, and I think that that kind of relates here. So let me scroll through, and if you want me to do a part 2 going into this more detail, I can. So this is my author dashboard. I just have quotes from reviews of my books, book sales tracker, links that I need, different marketing, Patreon, things like that. Here's my current vision board. I try to keep my vision of who I'm aligning myself as always available. Different timelines that I have truncated. Here's all of my books in different sections on my books. And then here I have charts that are linked to my time tracking database. I've only been using this for a month and a week. Please load. Okay, so I've only been using this for a month and a week, and I have a database that sets up to these charts. And I have it set up by tracking time. So like for YouTube, I'm going to add 25 minutes to my time tracker because I just filmed this video. And we'll see how all of it looks at the end of the year. I'm excited about that. So this is 1 week in December and all of January, my tracked time on certain projects and how many words I've written for my books in a month and a week. And it's all set up to this database tracker. So if you want me to go more into detail on that, I can do that because I'm going to be setting up one for February and linking everything together. My computer is freezing because it's not used to streaming. So this past week, I started tracking all projects, but for all of January, I was mainly tracking just words. So now I'm going to use it as a project tracker as well. So that's what came into place here. So it says here that I have done 82 work sprints, and most sprints are 30 minutes, but not all of them are. Some are 10, some are 15. So everything in that data chart was based on 82 working sessions in the past 30 days. All right, that is all that I will share for you today. Let me know if you want a part 2 on how I'm tracking time, and I will be doing another Notion video in a few weeks going over how I manifest using journaling and Notion. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.